It's the Bad News Show here at Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel. Let's go.
There it is. This is bad news.
My God. Fall out right now.
Anything could happen.
Get on! Wow.
I'll watch the video later. They dry mopping this.
Welcome to the Bad News Show for the 20th of January, 2025. I am Joey Only from the Caribou region of British Columbia here in Wells, BC. Yes, this place is called, yes, it is. 3,930 feet above sea level here, 53 degrees north, and it is 18 below. It's been 18 below most of the last 12 hours or so. It kind of got down there and just said, yeah, I'm good. 18. Let's just hang out here for the night. And it did. And surprisingly, I went out to get firewood, and I'm like, wow, it's the warmest minus 18 I've ever felt. You know, like went out there and loaded up wood and, just did my pajamas and wasn't shivering. So it's a very, very dry is what that is. It's so dry. There's no humidity in the air, and it's just making it really, really, really comfortable. So things we're going to talk about today on the Bad News Show. One thing I don't want to talk about too much today is Donald fucking Trump. Because it's easy to want to talk about that today. It's January 20th, and we know what's going on. It's like, you know what? I'm going to take the approach of I'm not going to watch the inauguration or look at it or think about it for the day. I hope the ratings tank. I hope everyone does the same. Fuck this guy. We'll watch what we need to watch in order to fight you. But I don't need to watch the world kiss your ass. You're a piece of shit. So we'll talk about other things today instead. Yeah, well, we'll talk about talk about that. Well, first of all, it's very, very cold out in the prairies today. So there's some things to be said about that. Very cold, not so bad here, but pretty cold in the prairies. And bad weather is just everywhere. It's just going on all across Canada. It's really, really bad. We've got a question about snowpack and about fire season I'm going to address here in BC, and I think that's going to be the lion's share of the video is talking about the fact that I don't think we are ready for this fire season coming here in British Columbia. No, I do not. If you saw my forecast last night, you can still see it today. It's on Caribou Weather Dude YouTube channel right here. We do have a little bit of warm-up that's already started up there. It's making things windy in the piece. There's at least at Musqueam, 6-degree temperature report going on there this morning already. It's still fairly early right now. I mean, by early, it's not fairly early. No, it's 10 o'clock. But, it's early in the diurnal process of the day. The sun's only just sort of making its way to a high enough place to really start having any warming effect whatsoever, and there's not much warming effect. Okay, well, we'll make this simple. Extreme cold! That's all that red shit there is extreme cold. If you go down to southern Ontario, though, we do have, extreme cold there too now. Minus 30 expected all the way down. When was the last time Windsor, Ontario saw minus 30? Wow, that is really, really cold. Snow squall warnings are up to 100 centimeters. So between 30 and 100 centimeters, what better way to say it? We don't fucking know. We don't know. It could be 100. Well, there's a cold air here. Well, that cold air is coming across that warm lake, and it picks up moisture, right? It's kind of like when you watch you boil water in your cold house, and you see lots more steam because of it, right? It's like it's chilly in your house, and you go have a shower. It just gets that much more. Okay, you could get the point. So it's picking up this moisture, it picks it up, and then it immediately falls on the ground. Winds gusted 50 kilometers an hour. So look out for everybody in Stoneleigh. Stoneleigh up the Perry Sound there, 50 centimeters of snow. Looks like Stoneley's going to get the worst there. Okay. You more or less get the point here. 60 centimeters up on the Bruce. What do we got down here for Prince Edward County? Snow squall watch even for you down there, Prince Edward County. So if you're in, looks like Wellington and Picton and places down there on the Bay of Quinte on Prince Edward County, looks like you could be seeing some snow there even too. Looks like up for Mum. No, Mum is out of the extreme cold warning today, so that's nice for you. You're not in it in north of Bannockburn there, But as we talked about yesterday, some pretty bad weather all through the Maritimes, including a brand new series of watches for snow squalls as well. 70-kilometer-hour winds there. Yeah, not looking at the same kind of snowfall. We're not looking at 100 centimeters like they got in Stoneleigh.
Hey, Joey and the guys on the comedy
sundogs right now in Brandon, Manitoba on this January 18th. If you go further up, you can even see we have an arc way up in the sky above the main bulk of the sundogs. It's windy, it's cold, it's brutal out here, but it makes it all worth it when you got views like this. Meteorological report. This is Justin Ortel reporting from Brandon, Manitoba. Look at this, you guys. Man, this is gnarly. Do not dry your clothes outside when it is minus 45 wind chill. Yeah, it's not going to end well. Guess I'm not wearing these today.
And no, we're not going to spend too much time looking at all this today because we spent last night looking at it. But here you go. If you're in Cuba, it's 30 degrees. If you're in the south tip of Florida, at Naples Municipal Station there, 17. Go a little bit further to the north end of Florida, you're at 3 degrees, 4 degrees in Jacksonville. And then, wow, you get up into Georgia, and you're looking at -3 there. Looking at zeros across Texas. Only 1 degrees at Alice International Airport. Down to 7 and 2 in northern parts of Mexico, but not too bad. 31 in the southern part of Mexico, and that's the thing that people are talking to me about. They're saying, well, Joey, where's your climate change now? You know, because it's cold out, you know. And the one guy was actually joking, so that's cool. I can take it. But yeah, what about it? You know, 34s. What do we got across Africa? 37s, 36s. You know, and you have to understand that this is the cold time on planet Earth. Winter in the north is. It's not that we don't have winter in the south as well. It's just that continental land masses tend to have be the place where warming is most experienced, right? Even Australia, not too bad today, actually, compared to some of the ridiculous temperatures we've been seeing there. 32, so we're not looking at 40s today for you in Australia, at least. However, here's the point. Let's look where these cold outbreaks actually are and look at the nature of them. We go look at the very far north and have a look at where our cold mass, you can see where the North Pole is more or less represented. Now look where the cold air that should be in the north is. It's spilling down. So everybody who's like, you know, where's your climate change now? Is ignoring this fundamental problem of warm air getting up into the Arctic. This is the North Pole right here. We're -16. So it's colder here in Wells right now than it is at the fucking North Pole. More or less, right? As you get up to there. -18. Okay, well, it's about the same. When you have that much extra warmth coming into the system that it's somehow making its way up into the North Pole. I mean, of course, there's still some really cold places up there, 47s and things like that expected up there today, for sure, right? However, you look at a large part of the Arctic, and it's not reading that high. It's reading minus, well, we got 6s throughout the Yukon and things like that, sure, right? So that cold air is being displaced, and as it's getting displaced by warm air that's making its way up, it has to go somewhere. It goes south, right? So this isn't a matter of wow, look, there's more winter, because there's not more winter out there. Well, you know, one of my favorite things to do is answer questions from my patrons, my sponsors, channel members, super donors, and of course, all you pretty girls. Forgive me, this is an ignorant question, but how do you think this weird weather and so far low snow levels in BC will impact our summer and fire season? Won't it mean less runoff, more dryness, more fire susceptibility? That potential worries me. And truthfully, I was actually intending to already talk about this today because of this one article I found. However, what are we at for snowpack? It says Quesnel's 101%. There's no fucking way. Okay? So I'm telling you right now, I don't agree with what we're seeing. Now, this map's a little bit, you know, it's like a week or two old. But we haven't had significant snow since then. And Wells, no, we're not at a normal snow level here right now. I don't think we're exceedingly low. No, we're not. But it's not good. It's not the kind of snowpack where I'm looking out the window saying, yeah, we're going to be good into June for wet ground and whatnot. What is our snowpack at? So they're saying in the Columbias and Kootenays, it's actually pretty good. 86, 94, 92. Lower Thompson, topping out at 133%. I'm skeptical on these. hundreds, nothing in the Chilcotin, nothing. I know Williams Lake's barely got any snow. South Coast is sitting at 70% of its snowpack. That's not good. Central Coast, I don't understand how this is possible with how much shitty weather's been going on there, but 54%. Nechako, they're saying 62% of what they would expect for snow, and Skeena and Nass 73%, 74%. And probably what's been happening too is a lot of these Pacific storms have been coming with warmer weather and rain. So for all the precipitation they've been getting in a lot of these places, it's not necessarily sticking as snow. And the Fraser 80%, Peace 94%. So I'm skeptical on some of those numbers right now, I'll tell you. But I mean, I'm not saying these guys aren't good at their jobs. Do the data stations necessarily cover everywhere enough? And I don't know. Like, I'm looking out the window here, and it's not the there's often been times at this time of year already I can look out the window and I can barely see. I can't see cars driving by because the snow is so high. It's like, this is the mountains. We're supposed to get big snow. So to me, a lot of areas, and of course, this is like a lot of mountain snowpack. What's actually going on in the central interior? There's not a lot of snow out there. No, it's not. One of the things that really concerns me is we thought we were coming into a La Nina this winter, and it really has only started to manifest itself out in the Pacific now. And they're saying, well, it looks pretty weak. It might not even stick around past April. So here's the point, that maybe our snowpack's okay right now. Maybe we can put on a little bit more. Hopefully, I mean, we're into a dry trend right now, which isn't incredibly unusual in January, of course, but we're in a dry trend right now. Is it possible that February and March we can put on a lot of snow? Yeah. I'm also nervous it comes as rain in a lot of places and we don't put on the snow. And I'm concerned that if the La Nina fades early, that coming into the summer, we may not have put on enough snow to completely undo the drought situation we've been having and to counteract the future amount of drought that we'll be seeing if we come into an El Nino again at some point. So we're going into ENSO neutral conditions, but there's no guarantee those ENSO neutral conditions will last. And, I guess for here in Wells, I would say ENSO neutral is better than El Nino in terms of like what our fire season might look like. Yeah. No, I'm not giving a specific fire season forecast yet. I usually wait till about the end of February because that's when I'm like, well, the snow didn't come, like last year. At the end of February, I started saying, okay, here's how the summer is going to play out. We're in El Nino hard. It's going to stick around. It's going to be still dry. There's not enough snow. Fire season is going to start early. It's going to take a beating at some point from a weather change, from a Pacific weather pattern change. And that's exactly how it did play out this year. So if you were watching and you remember, Joey nailed fire season predictions once again, absolutely correctly. All in all, the snow depth situation in Canada is a pretty good one. So looking at fire season on the whole, coming into 2025 spring, on the whole, Canada looks a little better than it did in the past couple of years. There's a lot of snow even in areas that have been, really burning. We had low snowpacks through a lot of these places last year. I mean, these are this is windy numbers, so how accurate? Well, pretty close nonetheless. So, sections of the Caribou where there's really nothing for snow, 4 centimeters, like that doesn't count as snow. Up in the mountains here, 141 centimeters. Here in Wells, this is a little low for us, 67 centimeters, 85. Yeah, I can believe some of that, 90 with the snow density. No, in a lot of cases, we don't have a meter of snow in the valley here, no. And in a lot of cases, we would be looking at a snowpack much bigger than that in a lot of years. So even if we're at a number that BC River Forecast Center is okay to say is fairly normal, to me it's still below even reporting here. Even these numbers are lower than I've seen often in the wintertime. Low snow levels in the Peace. Not too bad up in the Fort Nelson area. This is pretty good news because they've really had a shitty go with fire the last bunch of years up in that corner of the province. So, hey, the north up to Spatsizi and whatnot, that's looking pretty good. There's some pretty good snow totals up through there sitting on your ground right now. So all in all, things aren't at the worst I'm a little skeptical on some of the numbers. I'm sure that when BC River Forecast Center updates their numbers, we'll see some different totals later. Like I know they'll have a complete report on the probably the 1st of February or something like that, right? But here's the overall point I tried to make to Rick Giles the other day. He's a very smart guy, and he's saying, well, Vancouver doesn't face the kind of things that California would face in Los Angeles area for fuel, for types of for kind of weather, dryness, Santa Ana winds, a bunch of these things. Like a fire that happened in California probably won't happen in Vancouver. And I said, wait a second, I don't like that talk. And for me, knowing that a heat dome happened the way it did and could conceivably happen again, I suppose. I mean, there's no reason why not, right? Is there a reason why not? Well, yeah, I mean, it was extremely rare. I mean, it was a record exploding situation, the heat dome in 2021. However, my take on weather when I'm seeing that things are changing across the whole is like, well, if it happened once, maybe that can happen again, like maybe we're in a new paradigm here where things that didn't used to happen could be capable of happening. What LA did right before the fires and why it wasn't enough. Check out this article for a little bit here today. And I'm onto this topic because I'm not satisfied with what happened in my community during the fire last year. I've been pretty quiet about it, but I don't feel like I really want to be that quiet anymore because, well, I'll tell you this. Now, I was banned from Barkerville, for a little while because of the last CEO. And then the new person took over who's my friend and knows I'm a good person and said, okay, well, the ban's off. Come on in. Let's talk about what happened. But also let's have a debrief about the fire. We had a debrief about the fire because I'm the only person in Wells who went out there. Now, I mean, Donnie lives at Troll, but I'm the only person who's directly living in Wells right now, who's 1 block from the district office, or 2 blocks or whatever, who could go to a debrief and say, this is what I saw this year. This is what happened in the fire. This is what I think we could be better at. No one asked me from our fire department, from our town council, from the District of Wells. Along the entire way, no one asked me. No one asked me when I said, hey, we're going to have a thunderstorm on the July 9th. It's going to start fires up all over. Oh, yeah, no one pay attention. Storm happens, just like Joey said it would. I go drive around, look at all the fires. I go to the office. I tell them what's going to happen. They basically fucking... sure, Joey, just go away as fast as you can. I'm sure they're thinking in their heads, a fire happens and our fire department fucking evacuated. We had structural crews come up to help Barkerville from Kamloops and all over the goddamn place, and our own fire department evacuated here in Wells. So am I satisfied that our own fire crews here, 1 person stayed? Only 1 person from Wells Fire Brigade stayed. Which to me means we have 1 firefighter in Wells now. We have 1 person who stayed. The chief at the time went on vacation. Well, there's a big fire over the hill. I guess I'm just going to keep on my vacation I had planned. Gah! They had structural crews come up from Kamloops who had to install hose lays and sprinklers and things like that because our fire... And so I'm at Barkerville parking lot there to report in for the fire, and here's some structural crews. Hey boys, good to see you. Thanks for coming up to protect your town. Oh, you live here. Good. We're looking for the fire department. Do you know if anyone from the fire department who's in town? I just got back here. I'm here. I was evacuated too for 2 days, and had no idea whatever. Right, and no one had any idea. And eventually we were able to connect them with the 1 person in town. But this explodes my mind in anger. What am I paying a property tax for? And you're like, well, they're volunteer firefighters. Yeah, I know. But when I was on the volunteer firefighter force, I said, well, people in town are paying their property taxes expecting that someone's going to help them. And that's what we have volunteered to do. That's our fucking job. To put up fucking sprinklers. What's the point of having a fire department, Wells? Tell me. When you got the most experienced firefighters in town that you won't invite onto your brigade, you got an officer there who won't even fire smart her own fucking place on the edge of town. You're not ready, Wells, and you're not the only town, because Towns all over aren't ready. And you aren't ready. And what I mean by you aren't ready is you aren't mentally ready for what it means when you got to run for your life because fire starts coming over that hill. And it will again. How the season starts, I'm not willing to give a deep prognosis on fire season yet, but I don't think it's a good enough snowpack right now. I'm not confident with the global temperatures we've been seeing the last 2 years that we're going to be able to squeak through with an 80 percentile snowpack because we've not been able to sneak through with an 80 percentile snowpack in many fire seasons. The weather came on too quick. The whole thing melted off, and there we went. So I'm not satisfied. And I think you need to be angry, looking at your community, looking around, and demanding people take the next level of approach. So Wells, District of Wells, you don't want me to be your fire chief? Fine, then fuck you. But at least start putting the effort into having a strategy. And beyond, we need to have a revolutionary approach to protecting our communities. We need to think outside the box in order to do it. You need to have systems in place in your town to respond. Systems in place in town to catch a fire, if you can, at the edge of town before ministry can get here. You have to have that capability. You have to have plans ahead of time. You have to have extra pumps and hose sitting around. Spend the money on it so that, because we can't rely on the 18 or 20 hydrants and wells at work to have the water pressure we need to fight a forest fire. But we got river that runs right through town. Let's get 4 or 5 Mark III pumps. Let's get sprinklers. Let's start asking around, trying to do things, right? Because here's a town that was prepared and wasn't prepared enough. You know, and this is after Wells has already had this close call this year, and then it's just like back to normal. Well, just back to normal. You know, that happened. Okay, well, that'll never happen again. And I'm like, dudes, everything that burnt is on the wrong side of town. We're in as much danger as ever. In fact, we've just learned that living on the edge of the rainforest ain't no longer going to keep fire behavior suppressed. Because you could generally count on that in the past. Fire would start off and would just go, wow. And for a lot of the fire here in Wells, it went and sat down. But we had fire weather conditions here that drove fire behavior in a way we've never seen in Wells, BC. Los Angeles, no stranger to wildfires. Okay, some people call it mismanagement. Well, I don't think there's mismanagement necessarily in Los Angeles. I think the whole city is just built wrong. It's like, you know, like mismanagement kind of sounds like there's a few people who just, you know, made really bad mistakes. Like, no, I think this is like an entire process of let's build a giant series of cities in a place that is really susceptible to fire and can't support those kind of size of communities without extensive water systems and, you know, things in place that, you know, would not be needed if there wasn't millions of people there. So they encouraged people to build multi-million, billion-dollar homes and complexes in very vulnerable areas. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson told National Public Radio. It's calling for residents to use tile roofs. There's strict codes there. And then we got tin roofs and wells. We got some things in our favor. Still, the ferocity of the fires exceeded what firefighters could manage, and the disasters exposed holes in the region's preparations to reduce the chances of fires getting so unmanageable and to keep communities safer. Some shortfalls are common to almost all fire-prone communities in the western U.S. It's a pretty common thing. So, heavy toll offers a lesson for communities and blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the actual point. I hate when articles just take forever to lead into it. So, California is doing the most, but they've got the highest risk to deal with. You know, you could say that about British Columbia. We're doing the most, but we have the highest risk to deal with. So we're a lot like California, and what concerns me is our weather, our climate, I should say, is changing enough that we're starting to look more and more like parts of California and the BC interior. And I think that's going to continue. That's what climate change is going to mean. It's going to mean that what's normal in Washington becomes normal in BC. What's normal in Oregon becomes normal in Washington. What's normal in California becomes normal in Oregon. And eventually they take another jump north. And you say it was until Washington weather is normal in the Yukon someday. That is possible. That is very much possible. So it's doing the most. California is. So even when you're doing the most, it's not enough. So here's what I got to say about this. This is an exact direct Joey only quote. It is that enough is not enough. Good enough is not good enough anymore. Keep that in your mind. So what LA is doing right. Here's some cool ideas. So they're limiting parking on high wind days. And what they're finding is a lot of these neighborhoods are so jammed with vehicles and whatnot that emergency services have trouble accessing them during red flag fire days when these things are going on. But also they found that the evacuation from neighborhoods that are really jammed full of cars, like the streets are just packed up and down the street with cars. So they now have restrictions for parking on roads with tight curves, narrow lanes, and key intersections and things like that. Okay, so they're requiring homeowners to clear flammable brush. Our own district of Wells isn't requiring that, foolishly, but Los Angeles did. And even then, it wasn't good enough. Good enough wasn't good enough. Landowners in fire-prone regions in LA are accustomed to getting a notice in the mail. It tells them, hey, you have to do this. When they get caught in a tree, these embers or a brush or a pile of dry leaves, they ignite far from the wall of advancing flames. So local governments in the LA region have adopted defensible space rules. Large bushes must be spaced apart, gutters must be clear of debris, trees shouldn't be touching the house. In other extreme wildfires, these precautions have been shown. Here in BC, other things would be like trimming your branches up over your head so there's no branches low to the ground, maybe even removing trees that are close to your place, whatever, blah, blah, blah. If a fire does, we'll talk about fire smarting some other day. If a fire happens, it's 10 times less likely for something to ignite. I think the impact of think of the impact that firefighters can have. They're not juggling 20 houses burning in a small area. They're juggling 2. Now they can put that out, right? So to ensure homeowners comply, fire officials did 58,000 inspections. If a homeowner fails, they get a $2,000 fine. So I think that's something you need to look at here in towns like Wells. But that's going to be hard to mandate that if your own city councilor who happens to be an officer in the fire brigade refuses to fire smart their own fucking property because they're a city person who doesn't get it. And then when you have firefighters who aren't firefighters, they don't get it. Okay. I can't tell you how angry some of this shit makes me. Because I've seen what can happen. I've gone up and seen communities burn down firsthand. I've even started my season that way. Like, well, it's the beginning of May. Where are we going? Fort St. John up to the Alberta border. Go there. Oh, look at 180 telephone poles burned down. Look at all the houses burned down. Wow. Everything's still smoldering as we were arriving. And the fire's still alive. And home's still at risk. So they passed a bill to create an ember resistance zone within 5 feet of a house. So within 5 feet, you got to make it impossible for things to burn. There's tough building codes for new homes, but only the new ones. That's a big problem here in Wells, is that all our buildings here are, like 100 years old and made of wood. They're made of wood. Even in the 1960s, LA knew its housing stock was vulnerable after the Bel Air fire in 1961. The Los Angeles Fire Department released a documentary that blamed combustible roofed houses. In 1989, Los Angeles banned new wood roofs, making it the first major city to do so. California's toughest building codes for wildfire-prone areas began in 2008. It still wasn't enough. The vast majority of LA's housing was built before the wildfire building codes were established. What could be improved? Slowing urban sprawl. And this is where you're going to get guys like Mel Gibson go on, oh, they're trying to burn down the rich houses so they can make high-density housing. No, but that might be the outcome. I don't think anyone's trying to burn neighborhoods down, Mel Gibson. But certainly if there was a house that I would like to see burned down, it would be yours. However, the Woolsey fire in 2018 was another fast-moving fire. It destroyed 1,600 buildings. 1600s. So what could LA do better? They found that for decades, growth had been encouraged in areas at the highest risk of wildfire. The policy had shifted. If you were to told me a week ago, how does LA County fare in relation to other places, I would have said, we're really good. That's what Molly Mowry, the director of Community Wildfire Planning Center, said. They're doing a lot, but there are conditions in place with the existing development that are hard for any community. And this is what you got to understand. We're at absolute war now, and this ain't going away. Everything's going to keep getting warmer. It's going to keep happening. What could be improved? During a community wildfire, doing a community-wide wildfire plan. I know there's like hints of this, but I don't think they really deal with the reality of it, okay? And also, like, I don't think that our community here is ready to fight. And I can say that because they didn't. They just packed their tail between their legs, got the fuck out. Even the fire department left. We had to have fire departments from other places come here to help us. So whatever kind of a fire season we have this summer, people aren't ready. All right, we'll talk about all that stuff some more pretty soon. But here's what AI tells you. Water will not freeze at 27 degrees because its freezing point is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, at 27, the water would be liquid and need to reach 32 to begin freezing. With the time it takes to reach that point, what? Freeze it at 27, water's still liquid at 32. So, yeah, AI. Yeah, that's why you have weather specialists like myself that you rely on. Joey, the American empire is in danger of a violent collapse and a terrifying dictatorship. Climate change is threatening the livability of our planet. Here, I'll put myself up here. And the risk of a major global war is off the charts. The Americans invading countries around them to stall or delay their inevitable imperial collapse is a historical probability. Propaganda and religious indoctrination have replaced truth. In fact, I wrote turth. In fact, we're in danger of having the ultra-rich use us like despots. As an environmentalist and democracy advocate, I am losing sleep thinking about where the future is heading. Just talk about the weather, Joey! Or you got guys like this. John, you're an absolute whiny hypocrite. Get off Facebook and get a life. Okay, random bot with no picture. How about you go fuck your cowardly self? You're single because of you. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't fucking care. Whose business is it? I probably am single because of me. Because you know what? I went through years and years and years of a relationship with someone who screamed at me, called me asshole all the time, had gangsters fucking threaten to kill me. Man, I went through it all. And it's like, well, I'm safe now. I don't really want anyone to ever come in my life and make it hell again. Anyways, up in Haida this weekend here, this RCMP guy decided to go play, I don't know, beachcombers or something out there. He's like driving. It's like Hawaii 5-0 out in Haida this weekend. Oh, yeah, don't worry. You get all kinds of advertisements like this on Facebook from Agro Supply USA. This sounds legitimate. Jag meat detained, whole country in shock. From MrSub.ca, the website. His jag meat thing was apprehended. So this is straight up lies. People just straight up lying to you. And you may be smart enough to look at it and go, that sounds like complete horse shit. But a lot of people aren't. Oh, here we go. This is funny. BC, I have no idea what that means. Fully correctly spelled words need to be used. Okay, American. So every time you say Washington, D.C., we want to hear you say Washington District of Columbia, but the whole world revolves around you. I don't know. My American friend said, actually, I think most people in America know where BC is. Maybe he thought it was some kind of a storm. Like, what's a BC storm? Sounds scary. He's just trying to scare us calling it a BC storm. Sometimes I can't even tell if people are trolling me or not. I'm not sure what this even means. I remember when the weatherman used to make a prognosis. Well, I thought I do. That evolved to synoptic, then synaptic love it, synaptic weathercaster. I asked all my other meteorologist friends in our group chat from Meteorological Report, and they're like, I have no idea what he's trying to say. Anyways, this is going on today. People who want to forcibly take over Canada are moving the event indoor because it's going to be -6 outside. So all the Donald Trump things today are going on indoors. She says my elementary school would not cancel outdoor recess until it was -30. Yeah, and it's still like that in some parts of Canada. I know, like Justin was telling me in Brandon, Manitoba, the kids are going outside at 28 degrees below, and I'm like, it's just a 15-minute recess, he says. I'm like, to hell with that. If kids don't want to go out in -30, it's the 21st century. I mean, we don't have to worry that we're going to stop being tough Canadians just because we decide that it's not really nice out there. I think I'm not going to bother. Nonetheless, these are the people that want to take over. They're going to invade Canada, and once they figure out where it is, they'll try to take it over. It's extremely cold. Where's BC? You're going to invade my country. You don't even know where it is, you assholes. There you go. You see if you can survive the weather. Canada, that's where you come to die. And I get all this kind of stuff too all the time. I've just been getting trolled a lot. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm an anti-mandate flu shotter. You guys putting yourselves on a pedestal like you've done something brave is comical. I've never compared myself to a soldier for getting a vaccine, so I don't know where he got this from. This is just like kind of this spam bullshit they throw at you, and it's like hard to argue against it because it's not factual and it's not something you can easily prove or disprove. It's just like, well, you guys are comparing yourselves to soldiers. Like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. comparing yourself to soldiers who fought for us to have freedom of choice is straight up insulting and ignorant. What's funny is, are you in favor of freedom of choice, actually? Or, are you one of these anti-abortion people, too? It's interesting words. But I told him, I have 1,000 frontline days fighting wildfires in British Columbia. What kind of soldier are you, Justin? And it turned out he's an electrician. Big, tough, scrappy electrician, just scared of a little needle or something like that. Anyways, that's the bad news show for Monday, the 20th of January. Hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. We'll have forecasts again soon enough. But, if it says bad news show, I'm just talking shit. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Well, that's the show for today. Okay, bye, everybody. Thanks for all the support. Thanks. Love you. Okay, thank you. I gotta go now. Bye.